Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tyler Technologies will be giving a presentation on short-term success and long-term relationships, and basically asking good questions and gathering the data you need to develop a solid solution for that client. So speaking for us tonight is Bert Ramos from Tyler Technologies Hawaii, and he has been doing this sort of thing for a gazillion years. Sorry, Bert. And he will give you a little more about his background and so forth. So on to you, Bert. You're on mute. Yeah.
Thank you, Thelma. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Did want to give you a quick shout out just because we've worked together for a number of years now. Maybe not quite a gazillion, but this is a fun event as part of our work lives and our professional lives. So thank you again for allowing me to participate. So good evening, everyone. My name is Bert Ramos. And I'm going to take you through a couple of exercises in workshop fashion today and really encourage you to participate. So a little bit about me. I'm an economics major, kind of a closet numbers geek, right? Worked in restaurant and bars it seems like for way longer than I can remember. Was really dialed into the surf industry, both as part of a job and kind of stuff that I did on the side. And did a bunch of high school coaching for sports. And then I'm a proud dad. So in my past life, hospitality, tourism work via interactive teams. And today, Tyler Technologies, I run the Hawaii office. So we've been around running the ehawaii.gov program since 2000 under the name HIC. And really what we do is we provide both services and solutions, software, payments, citizen-facing engagement situations with the state and the counties. And I've listed a few of our partners. So the reason I'm telling you this is because this is my lens and where I operate in today, and it'll probably influence some of the conversations that we're going to have today. So for the purposes of today, before we get started, I would encourage you to participate if and when possible. I think what gets interesting in talking about relationships and interactions is at the end of the day, you can't get away from the face-to-face and the personal interactions. And so while Zoom and Teams have provided a tremendous opportunity over all the years since COVID to go ahead and do things remotely, there's also sometimes a real easy way to just be having meetings with black boxes. So that being said, I do want you to participate. Would appreciate it if you turned on your camera when you do speak and when you engage, but nothing's mandatory. For some of you that know the acronym FEAR, right? I want that to be washed away for tonight, right? Fear has been called out as, false expectations appearing real. So tonight, just take those off. I'm actually a little nervous, which is always a good thing for me because it means something matters. If I'm not nervous, it generally might not matter. Tonight, there are no wrong answers. Tonight, there will be no judgment. And interestingly, tonight, I encourage you, if you want, to be who you want or need to be in the exercises just to help generate content, thought patterns. So today we're gonna try to tie together talking story, right? Intentional interactions, guided collaborations, successful projects, and long-term relationships. And so I'm going to really focus in kind of in three areas. Interactions. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to set up and maneuver towards small wins and why they make sense. And then finally, figuring out how, when, and creating a platform for you to ask the right questions. So successes are nonlinear, right? It usually begins with an introduction of some type. I want to meet you, you want to meet me, your boss wants us to meet, we want this work, we want you to do some work, right? And then somewhere along the line, there are a bunch of interactions that come into play. With those interactions, oftentimes comes the ability to compete for something or ask what if and really engage at a deeper level. And then further on down the line, potentially collaborate. And with some luck, or sometimes just because you're really good, you can go ahead and win engagements. Now, I'm going to come back to this later at the end and kind of tie it all up with this because, again, these are non-linear, right? While interactions take time and take energy, they can happen in an instant, right? You may not need the introduction. You may have gone to school with somebody. Their kid might play on your son's baseball team. You go to the same, your kids go to the same school. You've worked with them previously in another life. So you can hop a bunch of these bubbles. And then what happens is you're basically creating a circular loop where you're getting to these engagements and continuing them, right? So again, it's all nonlinear. You can bounce around, right? From this step to that step. You can totally skip everything. It really depends, right? You may be a large company. You may be an individual that just works in the space. You may be a freelancer, right? You may run a number of teams. Regardless, what we've found and what I've found over the years that I've kind of been doing this in different capacities is there is a path towards that, and it really resides in the interactions. So they take time, right? They're informal, and sometimes they're very formal. They can be uh, requests for proposals with very large requirements documents. They can be conversations outside of the office. They can be somewhere in between. So a couple of things that are helpful we've found over time is, obviously know who you're talking to. And that's pretty easy to do, right? It's easy to look someone up on LinkedIn, check out their bio, see what they've done, see where they've worked, look up the company that they're at, see what their specialties are. You can even find them on social media if that doesn't feel like stalking to you, right? So essentially, you're setting up your stage. And when you set up your stage, right, you're then able to engage in little tidbits of conversation, depending on where you are on the pathway, right, and establish yourself either as a kindred soul, a person of interest, subject matter expert, somebody they can do sanity checks with, someone that generates a lot of ideas, right, or someone that can collaborate. And really, again, I talked about this a little earlier, kind of circling back to the what if helps to set that up along with the interactions. What if you're expanding and trying to push out what boundaries might already exist, both in your mind, in your partner's minds, or your potential client's minds, your team's minds, all of that. And then when it's said and done, everything's a long game, right? Life is a long game, whether it's in your personal relationships, whether it's in your parent-child, your education, your professional life, your personal pursuits. It's all a long game. And really what you're trying to do is just make sure you're staying on the path that makes the most sense for you. So I'll talk a little bit about small wins, and then we'll try to factor this into some of the other topics later. Small wins make sense because you don't always have to go for that big, huge, high dollar, high visibility, high risk engagement. Oftentimes it's exactly opposite. There's a community out here, and in Hawaii in particular is very particular, right? Um, it matters where you went to school. It matters where your kids went to school potentially. It matters the company that you work for matters. The people you're around matter. And while it's nothing official, it's really kind of part of the fabric of our society and how and why people react to you and then ultimately how and why they perceive what it is that you really are. So I am amazed that sometimes the smallest conversations, right, and almost innocuous conversations, shooting the breeze, whatever, right, those can bring out the biggest pain points. They're out there, and people will quickly get to what they're struggling with, or they're complaining about something that's just not going their way. And I use the word test drive in my next point, just because there are opportunities to say, hey, you know what, without a full-blown engagement or even a minor engagement, without contract documents, right? Are there ways to test drive, quote unquote, test drive kind of um, this vehicle between us, right? Can we, collaborate on something? Are you needing help with anything? And we'll talk some more about that. Obviously, small wins can be done even before you go to code, and I think there is a session in the future about how to smartly take care of everything before you start coding, right? Like a responsible carpenter, you're going to measure a couple of times, make sure it's all straight before you start cutting wood, and that's the same thing in our business, right? And everything that you do. You want to leverage paper prototypes and or working, functional, rough cut prototypes before you really get down to the business of building out something of consequence. And in doing so, it really connects in multiple assignments, multiple opportunities, multiple chances. And that's a clear sign of success, because multiple engagements indicates that you are working out fairly well in their mind, vice versa. Your team is working out. You all want to try to continue working together. It's not a situation where you're just like running away from people going, no, I'm never working with that person again. So you're able to flatten the learning curve over time, right? And really generate comfort. Because when you get down to it, comfort's a two-way street, and it has to be mutual. So there's this puzzle. My family does puzzles, right? And there's a coffee table, and someone will bring home a puzzle. And in this case, this is the one that's sitting on the coffee table. We haven't had it opened up yet, but I saw it today. And it has 1,000 pieces, right? And really, life is a puzzle. And when you're thinking about engagement, um, getting in with somebody, doing some work, getting a job, relationships, any of that, right? In a perfect world, you imagine one thing, right? The blocks fit fairly nicely together. You're able to go ahead and get to the next thing. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have those 6 or 7 pieces left. The final completion is at hand, and you can go ahead and fit in it. But what we often see is exactly the opposite, right? It's a pile of puzzle pieces, half of them are not even turned over, right? You spill them out onto the table. And then you have to figure out, okay, what's your strategy going to be, right? To go ahead and build a 1,000-piece puzzle. Are you setting up with the edges? Because if you look at this the puzzle box, right? It's like, yeah, it's got kind of a blue boundary, some plants on the side. It's not crazy in the middle. How hard can this be, right? And I think what often shows up in certain situations, if you're not paying attention, is the reality, at least in the life that we've had to live through, is not all the puzzle pieces are in the box. Pieces from another puzzle are in the box. And so you need to go ahead and step through that. So oftentimes, complex projects, complex relationships, impact your short-term success because you're not sure how to proceed, or you're potentially taking off a bigger bite that you can chew, or are ready to chew. Okay. So your role today, whatever it is, you may be a designer, a developer, a business analyst, you could be a numbers guy, you could be a systems analyst, you could be whatever it is, right? Your role, your experience, your passions, they create your lens. And really, your lens generates the easiest questions. So when you are milling around and getting introduced to people or introducing your own self, right? The easiest questions come from your lens. This is your world. This is how you see the world. This is what you think you need to figure out, right? And it's really interesting because the other thing about asking questions, which we've always had a laugh well after the fact, is that in the very beginning, oftentimes you won't jot stuff down, right? You'll just like, oh yeah, I'll make a note about that. What was that again? And really, in the business we're in, and our company's in, we deal with a lot of numbers. So there's a lot of specifics, whether it's metrics or facts or whatever that is. And those numbers are important because you don't want to keep asking for them again later, right? Um, but beyond capturing answers, right, when you're asking questions, is whether or not you're able to understand the answers, right? There are apples, there are oranges, and sometimes you don't like either fruit, right? Sometimes you don't even know what they look like. So again, trying to get a bead on what
This is
those
how I.
answers are, what they mean, and what you need to get from them can sometimes be challenging. So that being said, I'll jump down to number 6, right? Who do you need to involve to engage, right? You want the right people talking to the right people. And sometimes it's you, and many times it's not. And sometimes it's your direct target. I'm going to use the word target or client prospect. And sometimes it's not. But really, at the end of the day, it's important that multiple conversations on multiple levels transpire in a functional manner. Because without that, there's going to be a lot of, I thought you meant this, I didn't know it, this was that. And that all kind of contributes to whether or not you understand the problem that you're getting yourself into to solve, and asking the right questions to get there. Finally, it is always good. Um, it's always a good tactic to really understand your prospects, business operations, and or their needs, right? Some of it is super technical. Some of it, in our case, is like super paper driven. Like that's how they did it in 1970. And guess what? They're still doing it today. And you can imagine what that paper process is, how it's moved across an agency in government. But until you see it and you see the actual things they're doing, you can't understand it and you can't improve on it. All right. So at this point, I would like to start a couple of exercises. And so here's what I propose we do. So I would like you to tell me your story. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, right? And the scenario is this. We're meeting for the first time, either at an event or in my office. And your deliverable is to introduce yourself, your team, your company. And again, this is the part that you can sort of fabricate, tie in, make up. And you need to cover the basics within 2 minutes, right? You can totally freestyle this, right? You can script it out, or you can be somewhere in between. Are there any questions? And are you willing to give this a roll? No questions?
I don't see any questions, but if you want, I'll give it a roll, and then you guys can give you some confidence to do it.
All right.
Okay,
Do you want a few minutes, or are you just gonna like right off the
oh
bat?
no, I just taught a class on this topic alone.
Okay.
Introducing yourself, so I have mine down, but I'll
Yeah,
wait. Give everybody a couple minutes to prepare. Sorry.
no problem. All right. So I'll come back in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to turn off my mic. Go ahead and figure out how you would approach me. I am your target, your prospect, right? We have not met. and you want to just catch my attention or interact with me for the first time, either formal or informal, however you want to do it. And when we come back, if anyone is bold enough to volunteer, raise their hand beyond Thelma, that'd be great. So I'll be back shortly. All right. As in the real world, your boss is going to throw you a curveball and tell you the meeting is 30 minutes earlier than what she told you it was going to be. And you will have to multitask. So that would be think about what you're going to do, but also you're going to listen to Thelma. If Thelma, you are still up for taking a swing at this,
Sure.
starting us off. Fantastic.
So, hi, Bert. My name's Thelma Elaine. I run a small consulting firm called Chikara LLC. And what we do there is help small, medium-sized enterprises bring technology to solve their ongoing problems, to give them the resources and improve and streamline their businesses. I'm hoping today we can chat a little bit about how my services might integrate with what you need at your organization.
Fantastic. Well done. And again, right, like let's all understand this is a safe space tonight, right? We're not here to cast judgment. There are no wrong approaches. There are, this is a time to basically just like spin stuff out, see how it feels, see what you like, see what you don't like, and listen to some of the other folks. Um, all right, that was terrific. Anyone else willing to volunteer, take a run at this? No? Okay, well, I may have to call on someone.
Do.
Okay, so Aaliyah, how are you? I'm going to put you on the spot if that's okay with you. And if it's not, I understand. All right. Nothing from Aaliyah. You can chime in later, Aaliyah, if you so desire. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to take a whirl at it.
Wait, somebody's opening their.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought I saw somebody's opening their screen. So okay, Aaliyah's back on. She must have gotten kicked off. There she goes. Your camera's not on. There's a lens cap over, is what it looks like to me.
Hi, Aaliyah.
Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for allowing me to put you on the spot. But did you want to take a crack at just your first cut intro?
You know what? Actually, I was on my way home and I just got home. So I know I was listening to everything, but I didn't really prepare myself.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Sorry, but
It's
I just
okay.
go home. So yep,
This,
I can
this,
participate going
this is
forward.
a real thing. This is a real thing, right? Like let's say this meeting was not scheduled. Let's say I'm at Foodland right? Which often happens. Hey, there's the CIO of the state of Hawaii. And we make eye contact. And in this case, for example, I do not know him. I have not met him, but I know who he is. And he may know who I am, right? So again, that's the part where you may not be scripted. You should try to get to a point where you're feeling comfortable about who you are, what you have, kind of what your story is. And it could go something like this. Hey, don't you surf at bowls? I think I've seen you in the parking lot. Hey, my name's Bert. Yeah, so pretty crazy, huh? About all the shark attacks over here the last year in Hawaii, yeah. Wouldn't it be nuts if there was a way to kind of put something on either your board or yourself and help protect yourself, like make you feel better about paddling out, especially when it's good and nobody's out? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how long have you had that? So I'm just buttering him up, right? I'm just conversing with him. And then our company actually has put out a couple of things. One's called Shark Bands, and essentially it's a watch that puts out an electromagnetic pulse and repels sharks in the moment. Love to talk to you about it sometime. You should wear it. You should. I can loan you mine the next time we're at the beach. All right. So there it is, totally freestyled, something at the beach, some engagement, potentially with someone of consequence. Again, I'm freewheeling just like you. Anyone? Anyone care to take a spin on it?
I'll try freewheeling.
All right, there you go. That's the spirit. Remember, this is just a conversation, right?
Okay, so the premise is we're meeting at the food court at Ala Moana.
Okay.
Thanks. Hey, how's it, Bert? I think I've seen you before in my feed on LinkedIn. I think we both know Bert Lum. Do you know
Okay.
him?
Yes, I do.
Oh, well, what I wanted to find out was I'm actually in between consulting jobs and I'm looking to either go for another company or maybe go independent. And I was wondering if you could maybe give me some pointers about working for the state, if it's a good thing to be consulting for them and how would I get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you now? You're between jobs, you said?
Yep, I'm wrapping up one consulting gig and I'm looking to either maybe look online. I noticed there's that Hawaii Pro website where I can see some consulting jobs. And I noticed some of them already have people they already have in mind the way they write the contract. So how would a beginner like get started, to maybe do some of the small projects?
Fantastic. Like it's relaxed, right? You're being yourself. Again, I don't know it all, right? So, and by no means am I an expert, right? I'm a little battle scarred, right? Seasoned, however you want to call it. But really, you're taking a real good path, right? You're being yourself, you're being relaxed, you're getting to a point. And I thought that came off quite well.
Thanks.
Anyone else? One more? Okay. It's all right. It's all good because we're going to do a few more of these, right? Like there's a build up to this. So again, what's neat today I've found out is so I'm super hyper, right? And sometimes, well, my mom used to say that I can't stand still. And I stand at my desk and the camera, like I'm moving forward, moving to the side, and sometimes it's distracting. Um, but really what's kind of cool is you could just take your camera, right? And you can film yourself, right? Just see what you look like. You can do it in front of a mirror, but you can do it on camera, right? And then just kind of get a feel for, wow, I really kind of have a weird smile when I'm talking about myself. I keep saying, whatever it is, right? Like you can go ahead and polish yourself just by working with yourself. All right, tremendous. Okay, so um, Karen, I want to ask you, was that easy? Difficult? Did
Uh,
you did you come across any surprises? And then finally, can you think of ways to improve your delivery of your story?
For me, the talking story part is easy, but I needed to develop some sort of topic to cover with you.
Mhm.
So that's something I could work on.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's part of it too, right? Like at the end of the day, in real life, there is a need that you have, or there is a desire as to why you're gonna touch base with this individual, or your boss is telling you go call Jack Smith and meet with him about this, right? So there are real reasons, and that part really isn't hard to craft. It's just a matter of how you feel, how much anxiety you feel, whether or not you procrastinate on setting up the meeting, all of that, right? All the fun stuff. All right, that was awesome. So I wanted to go to the next thing, but I think this is, yeah, here we go. So let's try this one. Okay. So same kind of approach, right? The second exercise, we'll look for some small wins, right? So let you prepare for a little bit, think about it. Hopefully we can get a couple other people to kind of come out of their comfort zone and just try it out, right? But here's the scenario. So we've already met, and maybe even on several occasions, right? And you might think or you hope that I remember what you and your team does, right? Let's say you have a few ideas, right? And I've been in the news because my company is struggling with this, that, or the other, right? And it's obvious and it's documented that I'm looking for some kind of solution to a problem. So your deliverable is to go ahead and in 2 minutes or less, right? Reintroduce yourself and create a forward path for potential future conversations. So it's similar, and yet there's an end game, a more distinct end game to this. Again, if you want to freestyle it, script it, practice it, whatever, I'll give you a few minutes. And then if anyone wants to step up and take a swing in the batter's box, happy to hear what you got. All right. So again, even though it says 4 minutes, right? Even though your boss or your client says, hey, you know what? Here I am, right? Anyone?
So how many people are actually still in the room? Raise your hands if you're still in the room. Okay. So I'm afraid the problem is not that they don't want to respond, it's that not everybody's here.
Yeah, no problem. Understood.
So Michael or Matthew, could you just give it a shot? Oh, I'm here, but I'm dealing with a toddler. So okay, that's why you don't want to turn on your mic. How about Matthew or Mike? Just give it a shot. Matthew's, I'm not good at improvising. Okay, Mike, Mike, you're gonna do it for us.
I'll try.
Okay,
Cool.
good man, good man.
Hey Bert, how's the surf been recently?
Hey, it's been pretty good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's been a few months since I've been surfing, so I've been trying to get back out there. But I heard that you're developing an app for community surveys. My volunteer coding group, Code with Aloha, works on building apps with the community and might be able to help you out.
Oh, fantastic. So tell me a little bit more. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we've
So
talked a ways back, but I have a short memory.
yeah, so we've worked with the National Zoning Atlas to develop a project with them, and we've also worked on with the state on a few other projects on that focus around community engagement. We're a group of volunteer coders, so the project may go a little slower, but it's going to be a lot cheaper and usually quicker than if the state has to do something itself.
Fantastic. Hey, Mike, you know what? I actually need to run off. However, maybe I can hook you up with someone on my team. Can you just jot this name down?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Steve Smith. Give him a ring. Tell him I told you to call you. And I'd love to hear more in the future. And sorry to run off on you.
That sounds good, but you haven't given me Steve Smith's number.
Well done.
I don't think
808.
he's real.
Yeah. No. So excellent. Very good. Like you've chiseled into it. You're relaxed. You're coming off really well. So well done.
Thanks. That's a lot of adrenaline going, even
Yeah,
though it's
no,
just
and
a
that's what it
simple
is, right?
prompt.
That's really what it is. And here's what's so crazy, right? It's so crazy because you think the only time you can spiel this is the dreaded elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds, you're in a closed box with somebody, and you got to say what you got to say before the doors open, right? That really isn't the case, right? And you can practice this anytime. You can practice this with your kid, your neighbor, right? It's just basically, it's the art of making conversation. Hey, wow, those are pretty cool yellow shoes, right? And again, it could be across any front. But the practice part, it sounds so mundane. It sounds forced, but it really isn't, right? And so one of the things that I always kind of encourage my kids, right? So my kids are late teens now, just finished high school, and they're in the generation that texts only one-word answers, right? So that's their sentence pattern as well. And we go to these family gatherings sometimes, and it's like, okay, here's the deal. You got to go sit near that table of aunties over there and like run a conversation for a few minutes, a few of them, right? So again, I don't know it all. I'm just, there are easy ways to figure out, how to go ahead and get yourself feeling a little more comfortable. And really this kind of thing is less comfortable, but it's a real thing, right? We're in a group meeting, right? You have an opportunity to say something, not sure what anyone else will think. Just give it a whirl. No.
I actually thought it was really cool that you tied in what you do for real. And so you actually gave yourself a opportunity to practice, like that could happen somewhere down the road where you run into somebody and now you see how easy it flowed. I was really quite impressed with the way you did that. So
Excellent.
my 2 cents.
Thank you.
All right, well done. Anyone else? I know we have a small, cozy room. Please. Okay. So let's continue on. Again, this talks to, and we'll go back to the roadmap later, right? These are like simple interactions. You may get shut down. You may get, yeah. I'll give you a call, give me your car, give me your card, give me your number, whatever. And you never hear from them. They never hear from you. They ghost you, right? Like that's all in the realm of possibility. However, you don't know until you actually put yourself out there. You really don't. And for every win will be 5 basically gentle or not so gentle no's, right? But at the end of the day, if that's the ratio 5-1, then that may not be that hard. All right, so we'll just go to the last one. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see. Let's just go to this last one here. Yeah, I'm on a PDF now. All right, so this is the easiest one, right? You've done the work, you've made the pitch, you've been in meetings, whatever it is, right? You're finally on the short list for final consideration, right? You're in the running, you're on the map, you've gotten in front of their group, right? Or perhaps even further along, you're now beginning the contracting process to work on that project. You guys won it, right? We just got to figure out what the final dollars come in at, right? You see me getting lunch, or you see me at Foodland, or at your child's soccer game, your cousin's soccer game, whatever. Now, the question is this, and you don't need time to prep for this, right? Do you interact with me? And why or why not? So maybe, hey, Karen, are you good taking a swing at this?
I would say yes, I would interact with you.
Okay, go ahead, give it a whirl.
Hey, Bert, I see you're getting lunch at Panda Express. What's your favorite?
Oh, this is for my kid. He's sick at home,
Ah, so takeout.
always.
Uh, anyways, I just wanted to let you know we love doing the work for you, and we're hoping to show you, our first draft on Friday.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, my team has had nothing to say or nothing but nice things to say about you all. So yeah, just keep that moving. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I gotta head out, but great seeing you.
Take care. Okay, nice and easy. Okay, how about you, Mike? Since I'm picking on the brave souls, do you interact with me? Why or why not? And if so, go for it. And if not, how do you bail?
That's a good question. Would depend if we made eye contact. I I most likely wouldn't interact if you're doing something else, like you're at your kid's soccer game or you're eating and focusing on your food. But it would also depend on the situation. If we were just awarded a contract, then I might come over and do a quick thank you.
Okay. Yeah, very honest answer. And it talks to kind of your style and your willingness to kind of give me my personal space, right? Uh, very well done. It's really interesting because when you think about it, so many decisions can be and are often made outside of the office, outside of those meeting rooms, right? Like people talk about golf. I surf with a bunch of guys that I used to work with, right? Um, I used to talk to one of the department heads at a soccer game when my daughter was playing, right? And we just stand there and talk because he's just standing there. It's like captive audience. And both of our kids were either sitting on the bench or playing on the field. So when they're sitting on the bench, we're just shooting the breeze. So that's fantastic. Let me ask you this. We make eye contact. You're not sure who I am, but you choose not to engage. What's your exit route?
Probably just head down and walk away.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Maybe
And you
maybe
know what? That's a real thing, right? It's like,
maybe fake a
oh
phone call.
crap,
I don't
right?
know.
It's like, oh, there's so and so, right? Oh, yeah, yeah, right. And sometimes there's reasons for that, right? You're either potentially you didn't like them, right? Potentially you're not thankful that you've gotten that engagement, right? You're not prepared, you didn't comb your hair, right? You're not wearing a shirt, whatever it is, right? So it could be a number of things, but yeah, and it's so easy to bump into people, right? Our offices are downtown, right? And so during COVID, really not around, but prior to and even now, there's people walking around all the time, right? So you're going to bump into them, and you just got to be ready. We do a lot of stuff at the Capitol, right? And so you're sort of hunting for one or two individuals, right? More on the interaction side, the earlier exercise, but really, like you're going to run into people and people are going to call you out by name, right? So you're on the spot. So being able to adjust to that, that's a skill. It's another soft skill, but it's real important, whether it's something highly technical or just casual acquaintance. Being able to think on your feet and adapt can take you a long ways.
Can I interject something?
Absolutely.
So if I were in that scenario, I would be judging what was going on. And there are scenarios where I would do what Mike did, which would be, oh, the fork's in their mouth, right? I'm not going to go over go, hey,
Right.
right?
Right.
But if they're obviously, like waiting in line, line to get their takeout menu, because sometimes there's a lag. I'm like, hey, Bert, oh my goodness, I wanted to, and that's when I would like be thanking you and keep in touch and let me know what I can do, so I think judgment's really important in all these scenarios of you don't necessarily want to go up to somebody in any of those scenarios and leave a bad taste in their mouth. So you have to kind of use critical thinking and discernment to make a decision about what to say. And but again, I like the free form because it gives you the, hey, how's the soccer game going? I just so that's a really elegant way to start a conversation rather than I was very much business, right?
Right.
So.
Absolutely. And to your point, Thelma, another consideration is this, right? You can actually rally after the fact and say, hey, Steve, do you live in Hawaii Kai? Because I was at Hawaii Kai Safeway and I swear to God, I thought I saw you. Oh, that was you, blah, blah, blah. Right. I wasn't sure. So, I mean, again, these are all like super soft, personal interactions. And at the end of the day, they will add up, right? They stack, right? They go ahead and build up who you are. And people will work with and buy from people they like, right? That's a fact. And so, of course, I don't have any stats on it, being the generalizer that I am. However, it's a thing that softens people up, right? You have a little more bandwidth, leeway, even if a project might be going not swimmingly. If they generally like and respect you, you're going to have a little more latitude than you might if they really don't like you.
If I can share a personal story, and I think this will go. So I was involved with the hackathon the first 3 years. First year because I was working for a government agency and we were one of the people helping it get kicked off. The 2 next years is because I did something good the first year. So I got noticed. The third year, I got noticed by the person who was running it, who asked me to help them run it. And then the fourth year, they came to me when that person left to run it.
Right.
And next thing I know, I'm getting a contract from the state where it's one of the ones that's written for me. Right. So they want me to do it. That's why they put like, you must have 8 years of running a hackathon, because I'm the only person who's run it for 8 years. Right. So my point being is that all started because I stepped up at the original hackathon and did something that got noticed, and then did it again, and then did more. And then, so it's a little bit of a different scenario, but it's the same idea of stepping up in front of people who are decision makers can result in actually, getting contract work with the state or other organizations. So
absolutely. And that carries all the way across the board, right? Whether you're doing volunteer work or you're helping with something, right? Just your willingness to pitch in or help out or whatever it is. People read that, people watch, people read that, right? And so it kind of builds all on your a kindred spirit kind of thing.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right.
And I also wanted to add that I think like nowadays, especially like after COVID, it's really important because like, oh, you're like in all these meetings, and then sometime in you been talking to these people for like 3 months or 6 months, but then sometimes all you know is like maybe the sound of the person, because or sometimes people don't turn on the video. So like if I have the chance to actually interact with people in person, I definitely would do. And and also I guess I can, so for example me, Thelma. So first, like the first interaction with me and Thelma, it was just like an email, right? So I was like, okay, so I really don't know about this person, just like all these like text. But then after that, we started talking via Slack. So it's more like a little time lag, but more like a little more like real time conversation. And then after that, we met via Zoom. So I was like, oh, now I know how this person like speaks, like how the personality, how this person's personalities, and like I know how she looks now. So I think it's really important to have these like interaction. I think it helps like build like a stronger relationship. And I know it's like a sometimes it's like a business, but like after all, it's all about like relationship between like two people, like among people. So yep. I think especially now, like I think it's really important to interact like in person.
I agree.
Great stuff. Thank you, Aaliyah. And so, Aaliyah, to your point, now I'm just gonna flip right over and play devil's advocate, right? It's important to be selective, right? You may not want certain long-term relationships with certain types of folks, certain types of companies, people with certain or different values, right?
Mhm.
So the interactions really are at your discretion, and really the common sense part of it really kind of plays into who you are, what this is about, why you're doing this, what's in it for you. And I hate to like dumb it down to that, but there is that, right? It's out there. So it's about staying connected and allowing yourself to be connected into something, because the people around you help define who you are, right? And oftentimes you're a product of kind of the environment that you're in, right? It can be very helpful, and it can be the opposite. Fantastic. All right. Well, I don't have much more. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things, right? So some considerations. I realize I'm the last thing between you and dinner and your other family obligations potentially. So success, at the end of the day, success is intentional, right? It rarely happens by accident. Sometimes it will, right? Good or bad, right? Um, and sometimes, oftentimes, it pays to be lucky, right? Just flat out, right? You can be good, but without a little bit of luck or a little bit of timing or that right place, right time, you heard the conversation, right? You're able to connect the dots. That will spell the difference between kind of success the way you think it should happen, success the way others perceive is happening, all of that, right? So um, you have to throw some of it into the wind, but there are definite steps that you can take to kind of, make sure that your own chances, your odds are better, right? It's important to grow relationships, to my earlier point, but really, if you can find true alliances, right? Alliances last. Alliances have legs, right? They are common-minded, a common-minded set of people chasing an end game. And I think that's super powerful. And then the last thing is, so I was listening to this guy, and I forget his name, but he was saying that to his advantage, he's portrayed himself as the dumbest person in the room. Right. And the reason for that was he's surrounded by all these people, CFOs, CEOs, and they're in a meeting, right? And somebody's throwing something out, right? And he's guessing that the guys sitting around the table who are all nodding their head don't know what the guy's talking about. And so he actually takes them off the hook by saying, okay, well, I'm sorry, I don't have a master's, but I'm trying to understand this accounting principle. Could you explain that to me again? And really, that kind of ties into the asking the right questions, right? Because without being obnoxious or without being just a pain in the okole, right? You can go ahead and continue to drill in innocently, but very intentionally into the kinds of information that you need, or talk to the kinds of people and the specific individuals that you need. So asking the questions is really important, and nodding your head, yeah, I know what that's about. Like, that's on you if you choose to take that route, but you don't have to. I just wanted to close with one thing, and this has been great. So, like I said earlier, I use a lot of pictures. So we drive basically steps. And this could be, in this case, this is how we get to signature on something, right? But it could be how you get to a business opportunity on something or meeting someone, right? So basically, in this case, in this very quick example, you know, your agency, your target, whatever, and then there's us, and then there might be another organization. And we really try to map things out, right? 2 months out, here's what you kind of need to do if you're targeting something, especially if it's deadline implemented, or there's a decision that's going to be made, or the legislature is going to release funds or whatever that is, right? And then like working those steps through, because at the end of the day, it's like kind of like cooking spaghetti, right? You can kind of do it by feel as long as you understand the basic steps and what those are. But if you're going to teach your kid how to do spaghetti, telling them over and over and over and over again may or may not yield the result that you need. So using roadmaps, visual aids, any of that is always helpful. All right. So closing it down, again, it's nonlinear, right? Those interactions, number twos, right? They're there. They're yours for the taking. They're yours to build on, right? They're yours to ignore. Sometimes you don't need them. Many times they really come in handy because they help set the stage for you. They give you basically the validity as a player, right? As a player, as a person of interest, whatever that is. And really, once you get into the engagement mode and the collaboration mode, right, it just becomes a circle. You're just spinning from 5 to 2 and 5 to 2 and 5 to 2, right? Like the wins come quicker and a little more easy. All right. I just wanted to thank you. There's a little bit of information out there. I'm easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn or Tyler Hawaii or Tyler Tech, right? We have in the past with HACC and Delma's assistance and all the great resources been able to leverage some of the folks that come through HACC with internships and opportunities and helping to pair people up. So an ongoing offer to you would be keep me in your Rolodex, if you guys even know what that is. I'm going old school here, right? But really,
your contact list on your phone now.
yeah, there you go. Exactly. But I'm here, right? I'm in the community. I want to see people succeed. The future of this state, this community is in our youth. And it's great to be a part of that. So if there's ever any way I can assist you or connect you or do anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I have one question or wanted a request to make to you. Can you tie back those interactions? So one of the things I've noticed is people go into the room with the challenge sponsors and they sit there. So this is an opportunity for them to use those suggestions from those scenarios that you talked about to figure out a way to connect to the challenge sponsor. And it doesn't have to be the beach or the because you're not going to be in a beach, right? But you can say, hey, I really liked your presentation. And now I have this question. So can you give some advice on how you might take that approach from your earlier part of your presentation to the breakout rooms that you'll have 2 opportunities to do that. And if you could, and I'm emphasizing this, I know there's only 7 people or 8 people in the room right now, but this recording will be on the website. And I'm hoping that we can end with a note of how they can take those ideas to the breakout rooms on October 12th and October 19th.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're posing a great question, and we see this a lot at some of the conferences, both here and on the mainland that I attend. Right. So somebody goes up, they have a tremendous presentation or whatever it is, right, and you want to catch them. However, in the window between this thing and the next presentation or lunch or the end of the day, whatever, there's 5 people in front, all waiting to shoot the breeze with that individual, right? And so that's one scenario. Really, again, I would talk to talk to the real fact that people can be reached outside of the engagement, the moment of engagement, right? Whether it's like slightly later, but certainly the approach that you're using is, hey, you mentioned this and really blah blah blah. Like if you can engage them there in the moment, that's optimal. If not, you can certainly double back, right? Whether it's a day later, or via email, whatever that is, or reach
Slack,
out.
Slack. You'll be able to reach out to the challenge sponsors on Slack. Sorry, I just want to make sure
Right.
that everybody stays on Slack.
Yeah, understood. So, but it is a dilemma, right? Like typically, if you go charging up to the front, they may or may not be able to talk to you for very long because there's some important people behind you. But you're right. There is a technique. If you are drawn to something that was said, or drawn to someone that is at an event, or in this case, the hack, the sooner you touch base, the better. But it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be right at the moment.
Well, and you say something really I think is important. So if you're one of those people who are a little shy about doing it face to face, Matthew, I'm gonna call on you for that comment you made. That's when, the fact that there's a Slack channel and you can really craft your comment of, hey, I liked your presentation and I really am thinking about doing your challenge, but I have these questions, or I want to get some clarification here. So I want to just make sure people know that this is an opportunity for those interactions to learn tricks and information that you might actually click something in you that makes your presentation and your solution just a little bit a step above of other people that heard the same comment, but something for you. So that's why it's really important to have these interactions, because you learn things that make your brain go, oh. And again, that's one of the reasons I like what Mike did with his presentation, is he was like, hey, look, we're already doing this kind of stuff.
Right.
How can I help you? Right. So those kind of conversations in a breakout room or on Slack with the challenge sponsors are going to be invaluable to you. So
yeah, agreed. And just to piggyback on that real quick, Thelma. So what's interesting is all the modes of conversation have expectations around them, right? So if you shoot somebody an email, generally speaking, their response time, you should not be offended if they don't get back to you right away. However, if you happen to text them or Slack them and they Slack you right away, you have their attention, even if it's for a fleeting moment. Don't do something like that. Reach out to someone and then go walk your dog for 15 minutes.
yeah,
Right? Because
exactly.
you will have missed your thing. And so that's something you have to figure out as you go, right? And with the individuals that you're working with, like again, there's kind of that comfort, that two-way street thing going on. And sometimes it's like being in college, right? You have to figure out what this professor will want on the exam, on the final exam, and on the midterms. And you got to figure that out in the first few weeks, because you're only going to get a couple of exams and then the semester's over. So it's being able to think on the fly, adjust on the fly, and then make the correct adjustments like in real time. So again, another soft skill, but it's all part of it, right?
Yep, agreed.
Yep.
Thank you for addressing that. I wanted to kind of tie it back a little bit to the hack event, so thank you for letting me do that. So.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for this presentation. It was fun. I had fun with it.
Different. Yeah. And I'll be at a few of the hack events, right? So please feel free to just touch base, whatever, right? Curious to hear a little bit more about you, what you do, whatever, right? So I'm around.
And I will mention this year, after the culmination event on November 16th, we're having a Meet and Connect Expo. And it's a little different from a traditional job internship expo. We started out there. But what we want to do is people who participate in the event really do show their skills and their capabilities. And we're bringing in employers and businesses that need tech people, or so this is going to be an opportunity for you to use what Bert was showing you to kind of tell your story a little bit. And again, it could just be, hey, I did this presentation and I was thinking about this, and I was really excited about how this, right? Again, I'm not using specific words here, but this is going to be a chance for you to kind of test drive this idea of connecting to some of the, and they're not all mainland Hawaii businesses. So some of them will be looking for jobs that are remote on the mainland. They're the jobs actually on the mainland, but you can still work in Hawaii, or some of the big paychecks. We just had a Salesforce training where he was talking about the number of jobs for Salesforce are gonna are astronomical. So and a lot of them are remote. So you could be living in beautiful Hawaii making a much higher wage. So this is really going to be and they're going to be there. And so is Tyler Hawaii, who actually does hire people as interns. And eventually I know that they had other somebody they actually ended up hiring that started out as an intern and they were a HACC person. So yeah. I want to point out. So this is an opportunity to strut your stuff, right? So.
Absolutely. Yep. Go out there, stay out there, and just do your thing.
Because you all have something to be proud of. You really do, and to be confident of. And that's really what interactions, it's you feel like, oh, they don't want to talk to me, or you feel a little shy. Don't be shy. I know that's easy said. I'm extremely shy. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm in an environment right now where I feel very confident. So it's easy for me to talk. But I've been on calls like this where I'm the guy with the camera off, the micro off, and I'm like, I'm not volunteering. That's way. So I understand. But when you're in an environment where you are somebody who has something to offer, remember to offer it. Is all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, and to your point, Thelma, that's really interesting because there's a cultural stigma, I would say, locally, right? Like local style, you don't talk about yourself, right? You don't brag, right? You let other people talk about you. And that's one mentality, but really you have to weigh that as an individual against what you're chasing and what you're, being able to do that in kind of in a thoughtful and pleasant manner, right? So it's okay. You just got to get over that hump.
Yeah, and you don't have to go, hey, I'm the best programmer on this island. You should hire me. You could just say, hey, I've been, again, if you're one of the participants and you have a result, Karen, you took like second place last year.
Yes.
So people came up and talked to her. Salesforce in the previous call was like, hi, Karen, how are you doing? Right. So doing well, even if you don't do well in the HACC, the fact that you've made the presentation day and are presenting is going to be, people are going to want to talk to you. So you don't have to brag. Your presentation will have done some of the bragging for you. And now you just have to quietly go, oh, yeah, that was great. I really had fun. And so you can even be you don't have to be like braggadocio. I don't know what the right word is there. Sorry. You don't have to like be like a cocky ego person. You could just be like, humble. You're right. That's the word I'm looking. You can still be humble, but you can still be proud and confident about what you achieved. And that's not just about the HACC event, but all these things you've learned, to be in here and doing this in the first place and participating in the event and building something. These are things worth being confident and proud of. And I had a mom. My mom used to be, oh, pride goeth before the fall, and oh my God, no. So it's a similar, person out. But I've learned that there's a humble pride that you can have, that it's not about anything, that you can still be, and that's confidence, basically. Yes, I can do that.
Well said.
Thank you. Bert, thank you. This was fun.
Of
I
course.
really enjoyed this class. Thank you. I don't usually participate. I usually turn my camera off and my microphone off, and I start playing games on my phone. So I'm just saying it was really, really fun. Thank you for having it.
Thanks a lot, Tama. Everyone, I hope you guys all have a great evening.
Mahalo, Bert.